Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Search Podcast. I'm Elliot Manning. I am joined today by a special guest, someone that I've seen in the industry for a long time, who is very, very respected and has done a lot for the industry. It's Toni Cocozza. But Toni, I'll let you introduce yourself and your business in power in terms of what you do from an exec coaching point of view.
Okay, yeah, I'm Toni Cocozza. I've worked within recruitment now for over 30 plus years.
Yeah.
And I started in the industry running my own business, which I had a management buyout in 2017. Thought I'd give up working forever and retire and have a lovely, lazy person's life, but found that I was missing business too much, missing interaction with other people,
Yeah.
and that most other people were working, so I had nobody to play with. So I set up Empower, which is business and executive coaching. First of all, I thought I'll never ever work in the recruitment industry again. I'm going to somewhere new. So I worked within some large corporates, at Barclays and Lloyd's.
Brilliant.
People coaching, and then got pulled back into recruitment. And I'd say now 85% of my business is working with recruitment businesses, either with the leaders or the leadership team.
Yeah.
Helping them to, I thought I was a growth consultant, but over the last year, I think I've been a survival consultant.
Yeah, that's it. I think everyone's in the same boat. But from you, from your side rather, when you left, your previous business after the buyout, how much of a break did you actually take before you jumped straight back into work again?
I think I took about 6 months, and I did all the traveling and the golf lessons and the art holidays and everything that I'd always thought I'd like to do.
Yeah.
And then I did find that most people do work. I know
Yeah.
that's my partner's still working, still quite successful. And so it literally was, what do? I have lunch here and I have lunch there. And I started to sort of go back to London, and I found myself talking to business people and just getting excited.
Yeah.
And I did a podcast, and on the podcast, a few people commented. And I just said, if you need any help, and people started to ring me to say, yes, please. And then that just got my mind thinking about, coaching. What about coaching? So I retrained as an executive coach.
Brilliant.
And it sort of went from there, really.
So over the past 12 months, you've seen everything, anything, all of it, right? You've probably spoken to so many business owners, and I know that you're now working with a few businesses under the TRN banner as well. And hopefully, us at Kayman at some point, which we've spoken about. So I look forward to that.
Yeah.
But keen to kind of see what's your overall verdict, from, because usually this podcast is directed at, say leaders in recruitment who aren't necessarily business owners, who haven't got to that point of their career just yet. But for those business owners that are listening in, what do you think everyone's taken the most out of the last 12 months?
Well, I think the whole last 12 months had a real cycle to it. So I think, first of all, it was sheer shock, panic, and everybody I spoke to, business owners, consultants, leaders, were like, oh my God, what's happening? It really was terrifying for people.
Of course.
Then found they were at home, and then that whole setup, the bit of the adrenaline running then was, oh, look, I'm at my kitchen table. How cute. There's my son. We had a lot of that. So people were really sort of enjoying that side of it. And it was lovely weather, if you remember. So they were out walking. So everybody was like really getting fit or fat, eating too much, one or the other.
Yeah.
And so that I found was okay. And I was doing a lot of coaching with the business owners. But at that time, I did think to myself, oh my God, right, if you're a growth consultant, you're going to be out of work over the next 4 months because we're going into lockdown. So I decided that I would work for my clients for free for that period. Double-edged sword. One, I didn't want to sit indoors, and have nothing to do. And secondly, I thought, well, actually, if I do a good job, they'll take me back afterwards rather than have to re-engage. So there was, the selfish side to it. And I also offered them that I would deal one-to-one with their consultants at home. So I just spent my days talking to everybody at home.
Yeah.
So when it got to the stage then that we started to get a little bit bored of being at home, and we were sort of getting a little bit down by it. I think it's sort of the novelty wore off, and we went through this whole period of people really getting quite depressed and quite down.
Yeah.
And I found that a lot of people started to lose a little bit of their ambition. Definitely a love for the recruitment industry. And, majority of my time I was saying to people, yeah, but you're not actually working, doing recruitment properly at the moment, are you? None of us would have signed up for a job where we sit at home on our own, where there's no jobs out there, nobody wants to take our calls, and our bosses are bashing us over the head for our KPIs.
Yeah.
We've taken the job. So there was a lot of coaching around that for them. then we got the glimmers of hope of, possibly getting out for a little while, and that started to really build the morale and everything.
Of course.
So again, but there was a lot of people readjusting their lives. Like, do I ever want to work full time in an office again?
Yeah.
The amount of consultants that have said to me, going forward, I don't think I'll ever work full time.
I bet that's
The amount
changed.
that the owners have turned around and said, productivity is down, we need to get people back,
Yeah,
and
no,
how
of
we can
course.
work this way going forward. And I think that's a big challenge for the industry over the next period.
So did you ever come to a point during all this where you were kind of at a panic mode of like, how on earth am I going to be able to help a lot of these businesses? Obviously, when you worked in, and had your firm, you were working through the 2008 recession that we had. So you've had experience of dealing with, some tough times. But this is obviously, I personally think, taking it to a new level of I suppose, of a different kind of market that we've worked in. Did you ever struggle and think, do you know what, like I need to, how do I advise, how do I go about this with these business owners?
I think with the business owners, it was reminding them of how they were treating the people at home, because they thought they were treating them really well.
Yeah.
But I don't think they really understood. I mean, they were in panic mode, right? So, and a CEO is usually a bit of a control freak.
Yep.
Majority of them, I would say. And so therefore they were trying to control, but how do you control remotely if you're not used to it? So a lot was around the KPIs and checking they were on the computer first thing in the morning, and meetings at the end of the day, and all that sort of stuff. So there was quite a lot of coaching around, actually, does it matter what hours they work? Do they all have to be on at the same time? Can we give out 2-hour lunch breaks? Could people start later? Actually, isn't it about the quality of the work they do at that time? Because I found a lot of consultants were sitting just at the computer to log in, to log off, to be there. But talking to them as well, there was such a majority of people that thought, well, my clients aren't there, and it's a bit bad me really ringing them in the middle of lockdown to ask them about jobs, because I know they haven't got any. And so there was a lot around the mindset of the consultant about, yes, there are a lot of jobs out there, because a lot of companies are restructuring. And even though they're letting people go, they're building new exciting teams for, post lockdown. And so there's a lot around that type of conversation with them to get them working better. So I felt helping with the performance of the consultants, to help them with their mindset, to help them with their working day. And with the CEOs was just, first of all, looking financially and reminding them how okay quite a lot of them were. I'm very lucky. A lot of my clients are doing very, very well, thank you, and had good, solid businesses with money on their balance sheet. So they shouldn't have been panicking as much as maybe they were.
Yeah.
And then that panic, unfortunately, letting them to understand how that translates through to their employees.
Yeah. I mean, I saw a lot of this obviously throughout everything, and speaking to mainly business owners in recruitment and recruiters and seeing both sides of it. I think the one thing that I noticed was that, you're completely right. The productivity side of things was looked at way too much, that it was upsetting everything from different angles and causing a lot of problems. And it wasn't quality driven work, which is why a lot of the business owners have sort of changed their mindsets. And we've seen, and we asked, but we're talking about yesterday, that businesses are going back into office more and more now, because they just can't, I suppose, I don't think they can psychologically or mentally handle the workforce working so remote that they don't know what they're doing. And it makes it really tough. But as an advisor and what you do from a coaching perspective, I guess you just having to tell a lot of these people to relax and to chill out. What type of businesses do you think during all this, or what mistakes, or I suppose, what could they have done better to avoid any problems before this pandemic? Could they have set themselves up more remote initially, or could they have had a different way of working? Is there anything that you...
I think it's really hard to say, because it's not a normal recession. I worked through 3 recessions, and we saw them coming, and we know that we made certain mistakes, and I know that I missed things and messages. I'd scale up a really big permanent division and not really talking to my clients enough, knowing there was a big recession coming.
Yeah.
How would we have known what was going to happen?
Of course.
I remember my kids, who were sort of mid-20s upwards, calling me and saying, Mum, London's going into lockdown tonight. And there was panic. There was sheer panic. And then, I don't really think there was much we can do. I think we can learn a lot coming out of it. But I think going into it, I don't think there was much we could have really prepared ourselves from. I think people started to talk about working 4-day weeks, more people working from home, more flexibility. I personally am yet to been shown that productivity and actually will be as great, if our people work more remotely and less hours.
Yeah, I'd like to see more. I mean, I agree with you. I'd like to see if there's more statistics around that and if it does make a big difference or not. And I feel like everyone's, and this is just my opinion, I feel like a lot of business owners are confused about how they should operate, just from the fact that I think social media has put that in their heads, unfortunately, and LinkedIn, about seeing what other companies are doing and trying to do, and then their consultants seeing that and what they want to do. And it's just it's made it a bit of a, I suppose, put them in difficult situations. But moving more into a positive note, we're in 2000.
One thing on that, just to think, where people are now worrying about, 4-day weeks or working from home and everything like that, what I'm advising my clients is to be honest with your staff and say, look, we've obviously, productivity's been down, finance has been down over the last year. Let's all get back as much as we can. And if we start to, build and move forward, saying to a consultant, if you hit your target over the next quarter, for the quarter after, you can work 4 days a week, or you can work the hours that you want. But let's see the productivity, let's see the industry build back up first, and then look at how we can adapt our flexible working.
Definitely.
To entice more people into the industry.
No, 100%. Perfect. So I'm making loads of little notes here because I think some of the stuff you're saying there is excellent. I just want to make sure that we touch on this afterwards. So moving forward to 2021, more of a positive note. We're looking to come out of lockdown. Except I read some very funny statistics this morning on the news about, the cases rising a little bit again. We won't go there, but moving into business moving forward. So obviously you've just mentioned what you advise in companies. What do you think is the biggest takeaway a lot of your businesses that you work with, or businesses in general, are, I suppose, going to be using a lot more moving forward?
Being lean.
Yep.
Productivity, lean, efficiencies. Everybody's had a really, I think in the bad times, you learn properly how to run a business, because the money isn't rolling through the door. So you're not just spending it without thinking. You actually look at every cost. And most of the business have been a little bit shocked by how much they spend on something, how much they can get it cheaper elsewhere, and how much do they actually need that. And so a lot of my questioning has been around their finances, obviously putting them into a good place. And as they grow, learning from that, do you really need to have everything that you've got? Do you need to spend that much money?
Of course.
How can you streamline your expenses? And I think that's a really big thing.
Fun.
Also, another thing is, a lot of people in the first wave of lockdown last year got rid of people that they thought weren't really right for their business. They had no problem thinking about those people. And it does make you think, is one of the problems that we keep people too long, we string them out, we put them through performance management. And if we listen to our gut a little bit more and said, let's have some honest conversations, is recruitment right for these people? Are they right for my business?
Sure.
You wouldn't have such a load of people leave in that first. When we did furlough, so many people knew exactly who they were going to furlough. And I was like, well, a week ago, you had them in the business and you were, well, why did we do that? So I think looking at efficiency of our people, looking at, everybody was trying to grow last year. I felt in March, every client I had was taking on 4, 5, 6 people. And into different markets all over the place, and a bit of time saying, where is my business going? 3 years from now, what's my business going to look like? What are the divisions I want to build? I find that sometimes, because people can't recruit good consultants, they get a consultant, and if it's in a different market, we'll have a go at that, and let's have a go at this, and there's no real plan. So I think everybody had to really streamline their efficiencies, streamline their finances, and now I think they all need a good 2 to 3 year plan going forward.
I think that, I mean, from what we see as a rec to rec, like what you've mentioned is exactly the point. I felt like during the first sort of Q1 going into Q2 last year, businesses were at a peak of performance to the point where they just wanted to just go at it and grow even further. And we place a lot of recruiters into businesses that are going in to do something that they've never done before and starting from scratch. And does it work out? Sometimes, if the recruiter's actually got something there to provide, but a lot of the times it's unfortunately a bit of a waste of time and money.
I think it depends on your long-term goal. So if you're building a brand that's going to have 5 different divisions, then yes, somebody. But if you're building an IT business and you just happen to see a guy who's brilliant doing construction and property, adding that person on to just have a division, there's no synergy. There needs to be synergy in the business. The long-term aim for me is that you should grow your business that's capable of being sold. So you're ticking all the boxes around what a good business could be sold. And then you choose whether you sell it, whether you do management buyout, or whether you stay there and just make loads of money.
Exactly.
But actually it's always looking, every time you make a decision, look at the long-term aim. Is it in the same synergy?
Yeah.
That's where
No,
people
definitely. And it's happening again now. Every business that we work with is hiring, and they're absolutely going for it, and it's all gun ho at the minute. But ultimately, is that because they've reshuffled their business over the last 12 months? Is it because that they had, they've got less staff and they've got more work that they can handle? There's so many different reasons why it's all gone a bit crazy.
And sometimes people talk about, I want to grow my business, so I need to take on another 20, 30, 50 people. And I'll say the question, and how much more profit will that give you?
Yeah.
And I've got an answer. Or how much will it cost you to grow it like that? So will you be better off or worse off in the next couple of years? So it really comes down to growing a profitable business. And I think sometimes you can grow your business without adding any more staff by actually losing some staff.
Exactly. So if, again, just moving into a similar subject, but based on, your experience, if you was to take on a new client and they're listening in on this podcast, and they think, do you know what, I need Tony's help. We need some help moving forward, some planning, etc. What's your process with them? Like, how do you start the introduction to bring them on? Is there a structure that you've got?
Yeah, so I think there's three types of clients or types of business that I do. And the first one is working with the owners of the business to scale it and grow it. The second one is improving the management team. So if you've got a middle management team, my job might be to go in there and help them to strengthen up because there's going to be a management buyout in the future. Or it may be that there's a smaller business where there's a need for a new owner to engage better with its consultants. So I might do some coaching around the consultants as well and help them and advise them on growing those teams. But if I'm going in, and I would say most probably 70% of the time it is working with the company to grow the business, I would go in and I would totally get to understand their business. So I'd interview most people in the business of the senior level. I'd work with them on where they are now, where they're looking to go. So I've got sort of a process around that.
All
And
sectors?
Sorry?
All sectors,
Yeah, I mean,
locations?
that's the sectors and locations. Locations, I've got to watch myself. I keep saying yes to business that's further than maybe I want to go because, I am semi-retired.
Yeah.
So I think the sectors are the sexiest bit out of all of it. I absolutely love that. So technology was my baby for 30 odd years. And now I've got some really exciting clients in really different, weird and wacky industries. And that's what I love about recruitment. My passion is it's the same business, but in so many different sectors. And if you can be niche and drill down and go deep into your sector, the amount of money these businesses can make is phenomenal.
Definitely. So final sort of part, any advice, suggestions to anyone listening in, anyone that's looking to start a recruitment company in 2021, anyone that's, I suppose looking to grow their business, any final words of advice?
I'd say to all the employers out there, as you welcome your people back, be kind, be gentle, nurture, empower, because they've had a tough time. And yes, they have still got jobs and they're very lucky and they'll be coming back to you, but they've all reassessed their life a little bit. And we need to make sure that we're encouraging people to love recruitment again and all the enjoyment of it. So if you're thinking of getting them back in and bashing them for those KPIs, be careful. You could be coming to you for lots and lots of new staff, because talking to the consultants, they need to be loved again. They need to be nurtured, and they need to know what a great industry this is and how well they can do in it. Keep your eyes on the cost, because one thing this has taught us is we never know what's around the corner. So rainy day funds all tucked away nicely in your business is not a bad thing. Build your balance sheet up so if something awful happens again, you're there. And anybody new building their business, do it, but keep it niche and keep into your market and go deep rather than too wide, and you can make a very lovely lifestyle for yourself.
Brilliant. I couldn't agree more. I really appreciate everything that you've said. There's going to be a few teaser videos going out on these subjects that I've picked out from what you've mentioned. But I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of value out of this. And Tony, if you don't mind, I'll direct anyone that reaches out to me over to you, put them in your direction. If anyone's got any questions, needs to know any information, please reach out to Tony directly. I'm sure you'll be happy to help out. And again, thank you so much for your time. It's been great having you on here.
Brilliant. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.